Yeah, causes of UTI we can divide depending on the organ. As I said, pyelonephritis is an infection which happens in the kidney and in the pelvis of the kidney. The most common causes of pyelonephritis are infections coming from anywhere else in the body. It can be in the bloodstream, through the nose, through the throat. They can enter into the kidneys. That forms about 80% of the cases. Other causes for pyelonephritis are necrosed papilla, particularly elderly diabetic who has long duration diabetic history, uncontrolled diabetes. They can go for a microangiopathy pathology where small blood vessels in the kidneys can get blocked, and they lead to a necrosis of the papilla. These papilla drop down into the kidney, and because they are dead tissues, patient is already a diabetic which has immunocompromised status, they can get a repeated urinary tract infection, and this particularly is pyelonephritis in elderly diabetic patients. Patients having kidney stones which have lot of crevices and empty spaces where bacteria can come and get lodged, they also are prone to have pyelonephritis. Patient who have a condition called pelviureteric junction obstruction, we call it as PUJO, they also have a tendency to retain urine inside the kidney and not drain out the urine on a regular basis. These cases also patient tend to have stones, and because the drainage does not happen on a regular basis, infection are more common in them. Other causes for other organs, coming to the ureter, is actually an extension of the kidney infections. Ureter per se as an isolated organ does not get infected. It is either in conjunction with a pyelonephritis or in conjunction with a cystitis. So cystitis is an infection in the bladder. The most common cause is an external source of bacteria, because the upper tract and lower tract are separated by a valve where the infections which inside the bladder is very rarely go back into the kidneys. It is an infection which comes from the kidneys down to the bladder rather than infection from bladder going back to the kidneys. Until and unless there is lot of resistance in the outflow and the urine will go back into the kidney, taking away the resistance, which is around 40 centimeters of water. With that pressure, if the bladder pushes the urine out, the urine can go into the kidney and cause infections. Otherwise, cystitis per se infections are an external source. It can go from the urinary passage, the opening of the urinary passage, more commonly seen in young females who are recently married or who have poor hygiene techniques, and this happens because the perineum area is a more common source of bacteria. Bacteria which come from the motion passage can also enter into the perineum area. They can enter the urinary tract. A condition called honeymoon cystitis is more common prevalent, where post marriage the initial intercourse these things, they can have infection coming from the male partner, and that can cause urinary tract infection in them. Poor hygiene is a more common cause of cystitis. Other causes for particularly to consider about epidermolysis. Epidermolysis in males is common and a usual extension of urinary tract infection, that is the cystitis, where the infection inside the bladder enters into the urinary tract, into the vas deferens through opening called verumontanum, or what we call the ejaculatory duct. From there, the urine infection in the bladder enters into the vas deferens and goes to the epidermis and cause infections there. That forms around 40 to 50% of cases. Other half of the infections are mainly, as happens in kidneys, infection enters into the body through the throat or through the eyes, through the nose, and they enter into the bloodstream and then go to the testis and epidermis and cause infections there. Infection in the glands, urethra and the prepuce can happen because of a condition called phimosis in males, where the urinary the tip of the prepuce or the skin is not retractable, and because of this there is lot of smegma deposition inside the preputial sac, which further gets infected and can cause repeated infections in the prepuce as well. Another condition which more commonly presents is prostatitis. These prostatitis is more commonly seen in young males, where urinary tract infections from the outside or from the bladder enters into a prostatic acini into the prostate, and they present with, as I said, retention of urine or fever and frequency of urination and urgency. So these are the causes in general for urinary tract infections. Yeah. Depending on the organ of presentation or organ of infection, if the patient comes with pyelonephritis, as we mentioned in symptoms and the causes, pyelonephritis is mainly treated with antibiotics, and antibiotics specifically for specifically with a culture sensitivity report, where we get either a blood culture done to see which organ or which organism is causing the infection, and the sensitivity of particular antibiotic, we treat the patients with that. If the patient is also presented with sepsis, and the general parameters have to be taken care, the blood pressure has to be monitored, fluids have to be given, and proper resuscitation has to be done for a pyelonephritis case. And if we know, if we exactly come to know whether the pyelonephritis is caused by infection from any other source and only the infection is there, or there is any other specific source, say papilla there is necrosed papilla in the kidney which has come down and blocked the ureter, and that has caused pyelonephritis. In those conditions, we have to have a system where we drain out the infected urine. In those conditions, we put a tube called stent, which is placed into the ureter, into the kidney, and this is we call it as a double J stent, which has one coil inside the bladder, and the whole tube comes down to the ureter, and the other coil is inside the pelvis. So this is like a transient tube which carries the infected urine from the kidney down to the tube and enters into the bladder. This will hasten the recovery of the patients whenever there is an infected urine. If the patient has a kidney stone or a stone which is blocked in the ureter, and then resulting that there is an urinary tract infection or a pyelonephritis, we treat it with antibiotics, and our subsequent goal would be to drain out the blockage, either the papilla or the stone. In this condition also, we put a endoscope, retrieve the stone, and make a passage for the infected urine to come out. Infections in the bladder, which we call a cystitis, is usually and very simply managed with antibiotics only, and that is usually done by culture sensitivity of the urine, and depending on the sensitivity pattern, the particular antibiotic is administered and the cystitis is treated. If there is any specific reason or a specific cause found for cystitis, say if the patient has a BPH, enlargement of prostate, if the patient has a stricture urethra, and that has been a reason for urinary tract infections, though we handle the urinary tract infection with antibiotics, further these risk factors or the reasons for by which the urinary tract infection happened, they have to be treated. We give alpha blockers, we give antibiotics for the urine to drain out if there is only a BPH for the reason, for a transient reason. If there is urethral stricture, the stricture has to be retrieved, and probably we do an endoscopy with an antibiotic cover, open up the stricture and put a catheter and drain out the infected urine. Or there is a condition called there is a procedure called suprapubic catheterization, where there is an infected urine in the bladder, we put a small needle and pass a small catheter into the bladder and drain out the infected urine out. That is how we treat a cystitis. So usually it is antibiotics. If there is any complicated urinary tract infection, we tend to drain the infected urine and treat with an antibiotic cover. Infection inside the epidermis and the testis, they are also treated with antibiotics, and in these cases also urinary tract culture sensitivity is of most importance. We give broad spectrum antibiotic in all the cases, wait for the urine culture sensitivity report to come. Based on the urine culture sensitivity report, we treat appropriately. As I said, even in the urethra and the urinary, the tip of the penis, where there is a glands infection or a prepuce infection, we give antibiotics, and if the reasons are specifically with narrowing of the urethral meatus or a narrowing of the prepucial opening, that is phimosis, associated circumcision and meatal dilatation has to be done to treat that part of the risk factor. Yes, to some extent, yes. A patient has, if water intake of the person is adequate enough, say 2 to 3 liters is a normal water intake for an adult individual. If that water intake is maintained, and people tend to pass off the urine without maintaining the retention for a longer duration. What happens is, when the urine gets retained in the bladder for a longer time, there is a lot of tendency for the bacteria to stay and start colonizing inside the bladder. So the more frequent the bladder is emptied, the lesser chances of urinary tract infections, and the more dilute the urine, the lesser chance of urinary tract infections, particularly the bladder. Because bladder acts as a source of infection both for the lower tract and probably extend into the bladder as well. So, water intake, regular and frequent emptying of the bladder is helps a long way to prevent urinary tract infections. Specifically, if there is known case of stone, if the patient is found to have a renal stone or a bladder stone, or has a regular basis urinary tract problems, say difficulty in passing urine, or there is retention of urine at some point, and the speed of urine has been much lower, a prophylactic evaluation to see whether the person is at a risk for urinary tract infection, and treating those risk factors will help to prevent urinary tract infections. Prostate is a gland which is located just below the bladder, present in all males, and this gland signifies in giving nutrition and enzymes to the sperms for its motility and its functioning. Yeah, benign enlargement of prostate is a normal, or to say a physiological enlargement of a prostate because of development of small adenomas or benign glands, benign tumors which are developed inside the prostate. They happen to be seen in almost all males over there of 40 to 50 years, and this enlargement has its impact on the urinary passage and also on the sperm functions and sperm motility as well. Yeah, see, benign enlargement of the prostate, till the time it does not cause any compression, till the time it does not cause any functioning compromise of the prostate, there is usually no complications are associated with benign prostatic hypertrophy. It may be incidental finding in most of the adult males. We find most of the scan reports presenting with large prostate, 50 gram prostate, 60 gram prostate, 100 gram prostate also. So, this is a benign enlargement of the prostate with no major consequences. But whenever the benign enlargement of the prostate starts compressing on the passage which it covers, as I mentioned earlier, the urinary bladder and the exit of the urinary bladder is covered by a prostatic gland, and the urine starts going through the prostate. It is like prostate is like an almond shaped, or what do we say, a walnut shaped gland, and through the middle of the walnut shaped gland is where the urine goes out at the bladder neck. When the prostate gets enlarged, benign, and it starts compressing on the middle of the gland, that is the urinary passage starts getting compressed, patients, that is male, elderly male patients, usually present with lot of problems in urination. The problems are to an extent irritative symptoms and storage symptoms. I will just elaborate in that form. A combined terminology given for urinary tract symptoms in a male prostate related issue is lower urinary tract symptoms. These symptoms involve difficulty in passing urine, that to say difficulty in emptying out the bladder. The speed of the urine comes down, there is lot of frequency of passing urine, there is lot of urgency to pass urine, and the patient will not have a sensation of completely emptying the bladder. That also happens, and patient will have lot of nocturnal getting up to, or getting up very frequently at night to pass urine, and the stream comes down, he has to put a lot of pressure to pass urine, and these are the symptoms which the patient starts getting up. So, is it only the symptoms which we are bothered about? No. Whenever the prostate enlargement happens and the patient starts getting these symptoms, it hampers the patient's day-to-day life. It hampers the sleep of the patient, and there are increased chances of urinary tract infections, there are increased chances of bladder stone formations, there are chances of lot of pressure inside the bladder, which eventually lead to a condition called diverticulum of the bladder. It is like there is lot of pressure inside the bladder, but the exit of the bladder is blocked by the prostate. So, there is lot of pressure generated by the muscles of the bladder, and the places where the muscles are not there, the bladder wall starts popping out, and that results in a condition called diverticuli, and this is called bladder diverticuli. This can also lead to an infection in the kidney, like whenever there is a retention of urine because of BPH, urine not draining out, the urine gets infected, and that infection starts going back into the kidneys and causing hydronephrosis, which we call bilateral enlargement of the ureters, and the urine which is supposed to go out through the urinary passage or the urethra will start going back into the ureters, and resulting enlargement of the ureter and enlargement of the kidney also.